the structure up here, whereas Nasdaq hasn't broken the structure, but we've had this reaction. So, are we going to pull back to this kind of inflection point, which does line up quite nicely with this volume imbalance, which is a daily volume imbalance, and get a reaction off of that to continue up, or what? It just all remains to be seen, really, based on, I think personally, a lot of sentiment and what happens this week.
So that's just gonna go ahead and hear that the whole time. That's kind of terrible.
Next few weeks as to whether we end up just pushing back down, or whether we can retest this area and go back up.
We also have Powell on the market one.
Yes.
Fitch Powell. Yeah. So that could be a bit of a, I don't know which way. Who knows? We'll have to see.
Exactly. Well, it's also who knows what's going to happen these days. As soon as anybody speaks, everything feels a bit like you just don't know what to expect. It's all over the place. And I think it's the indices in particular. I mean, obviously forex as well, but the indices in particular are really sensitive, aren't they, to sentiment.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Looks different, and copper's doing this. So yeah, they're all at quite crucial points, I think, aren't they, to see what comes after, what's next. But gold, I think most people are pretty much bullish with it being safe haven and everything happening the way it is at the moment. So exciting times ahead, isn't it? But I think that's me covered on the analysis side. So just keeping an eye over the next few weeks on the dollar index.
Oh, sorry, folks. We just don't have any.
Term this week: euro, Australian dollar, pound.
Don't have any.
New Zealand CAD and possibly crude. That's it.
Nice, Laura. Thank you very much.
All right. It is looking like we might be breaking underneath. Let's see what happens.
I'll quickly go through my charts with you guys. Again, to all our viewers, if you've got any questions, please drop them there in the chat. We've got our eyes on the chat. We're always happy to help out where we can. Share that. That's showing up. Yeah. Alright, so we got crude oil open here. I'm looking at a higher time frame today. Obviously, crude oil is in a bear market. I don't know why my screen's so fuzzy at the moment. There was some system updates or server updates on the platform today, so I've got no clue what's going on with that. But does it look fuzzy on your side?
No.
No, weird. Does look on my side. Maybe it's my glasses that's dirty now. Any case, I'm thinking we stuck here in a triangle, not us. Crude oil, price action wise. Obviously, strong decline into just before the 10th of April. I'm viewing this as a potential A, B, C, D, and then I was actually monitoring this zone that's in red that I try to draw properly there for you. It's lying between 62.92 and 63.48. The price just moved into. That being said, it was just one directional move up, and that's from the close of yesterday's settlement price. We had a gap up higher. The start of Sunday's trading, we got right into that zone, but let me just get rid of that squiggly that's there. That's a one directional move. We might be doing something like this. You see, we've got a pretty big gap down here as well. Then go up and then potentially down. That being said, triangles obviously can and will break in any direction that it feels like. Market's always correct. And you just have to play along. So if that doesn't materialize, I don't think this is the end of this upwards move. We've got this downward sloping trend line on the top there, which sort of defines the upper limit of what I still think is a triangle. But if we make it back into that area and we actually break above it, is this move to the downside, this being one move up, and then the triangle is actually like a bullish triangle with price doing that, and then we get a decline, giving you an A, triangle B, and then a C. But yeah, that's obviously a curveball. Traders expect triangles to potentially, if it occurs, let's say, a bearish market, that it will have a bearish outcome. A lot of times you get fooled. You're still dealing with the triangle, but in the triangle was actually still part of the zigzag, or the B wave of an ABC formation. You can see I've got my orders here, waiting for a potential retracement, and I potentially missed. Obviously, strong decline that we've seen here. Price obviously.
Let's see what's going to happen right in here.
Move into that area. I expected a potential drop lower. So whether that's just going to be the end of that potential E wave, or still need another wave up, create another high low. Who knows? But I thought it was enough base to the downside for good risk reward to trade short. But after price moved in there, I think you were talking about Bitcoin at that moment, Walter. Price strongly moved lower. We had a nice fair value gap, and it was sort of around about 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes ago that I was hoping for a potential retracement into that fair value gap where it got my sell limit order.
All right, so we hit below the 15-minute orb.
A drop lower. Now,
let's see what we can do.
Might still get that retracement, but the way things look now, looks like price is gunning for the overnight lows, around about 61.60. There's a cluster of lows over there.
See how it reacts in this area.
I might have to just cancel that order and yeah, consider it a missed opportunity. That being said, followed the rules, did the analysis, had anticipation that price might do. Price followed my anticipation, executed, not got into a trade, but executed the plan, placed a sell limit order, but boom, price just moved too fast. Then the Nasdaq here on the 4-hour time frame, and I've actually had a conversation about this, what I still think is an expanding triangle that formed here sort of mid-May and concluded here on the 23rd of May. Expanding triangle, they generally are very volatile, especially if you're dealing with your last wave. There's 5 waves in expanding triangle, this being an A, B,
all right,
D, and E, and then a strong move up.
Order filled.
Order filled.
Very abruptly stopped, and a very strong move back to the upside. Now, if you look at the Nasdaq, well, just looking at triangles in particular, if they form on a higher time frame, I'm not talking about intraday or so forth. We're looking at a 4-hour time frame. Obviously, it formed on 1 hour and so forth too. But I'm just looking at the spans of time that it took for this to form, which was over 10 days, right? Or close to 10 days. They typically form whether it's an expansive or symmetrical or ascending or descending triangle. They typically form as the penultimate corrective within that series of, in this case, bullish move to the upside, or phase, if you wanted to call it that. I'm really zooming out here. So obviously we had that very strong drop. When was it? On the 4th or the 5th of April, we start getting a move higher. And I'm currently looking at this sequence here as a 1, a 2.
See what happens in this area.
And this being a third wave.
Looks like it might be going up.
With a deeper decline. And then potentially new highs or another.
Let's see, does it break this?
So that's what I'm currently thinking on the Nasdaq. Same goes for the ES or S&P 500. Now, during the day, I was actually looking for a move higher.
Let's see.
Against this drop, which we did get. Potentially giving us an ABC.
Actually, just wait for it to play out. See what happens.
Maybe
this is the sacrifice account here.
extending potentially below these lows that formed on the 23rd of May. That being said, as you also mentioned, Laura, with those rate decisions or
This one's set to the one they were trying to pass.
the FOMC meetings, I think we're already 5 minutes past that actual PMI numbers. You know, Fed Chair Powell speaking in a couple of
That
hours'
PA looks like it's gonna go up.
3 hours' time. Who knows? You know? So I'm not really interested in trading the Nasdaq. That being said, it also sort of followed what
Order filled.
I expected could happen. If you look here, the 5-minute time frame just took out the highs that formed on Friday, and boom, straight down.
Order filled.
Order filled.
But with the
I'm gonna close that one out. It really does look like it's going up.
At one, I'm not interested in trading the Nasdaq. More also crude oil, but as I just explained, I probably missed the bus on this. Probably missed the bus. You know, if we
Stop
price
filled.
just sort of move
Boom.
sideways a little bit here, then move into there, then that will be a great trade.
There we go.
Makes its way way back up.
There we
So
go.
Then fair enough. I'll go short, but that probably won't happen during this opening bell, the morning session that we cover. That we're covering.
You never know. Like sometimes you can get a very
You never know.
aggressive swing back up, and then
Alright, we're officially a quarter of the way there on this
Yeah, so
count.
it's almost like a golf
Probably the
course,
count
you
we've
know,
been
you're
trying
kind
to
of expecting
win
something
the
to
most.
happen, and then things just move fast. But at least you still got into it at a later stage, which there's more than enough time. It's still the beginning of the week.
So now I think
So that's what I
we're
was
pretty
feeling.
good on that
Look at
account.
this.
I don't think we need to trade it anymore.
Price action very similar to Nazi. So yeah,
I guess goal wise for the month,
I have to figure out why.
if I could
most
find
of
out
this,
where this
weird
came
it's
to.
not showing up on your side, but anyway. I might just
Maybe it's your
refresh my
eyes.
charts.
I think
No,
it's,
I
I
was
think it's your
wondering, I'm
glasses.
actually seeing better without.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not blurry for me.
It's basically 1,000 a day.
No, it's weird. It's very, very blurry. I thought so at first, but it's not. I can guarantee you. I just been for an eye test the other day, so my eyes are still big.
Oh, good.
Touch wood.
So we all end up with
Also,
glasses.
do you have an
don't
update on your trade?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was about to say it has hit profit objective. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Let me just
Well
Nice.
done,
we?
man.
Really tired.
And good morning to you, Rob.
Really.
Getting ready for
Good
work.
morning, Robert.
He always pops in before work.
There we go. So I'm just sharing my screen again. Today.
Show us the money. Ooh, nice.
Oh wow, very good.
Yeah, so that's
Rumble.
done. Yeah, so that's now. Yeah, so that's now hit the target on this. Go back to trading account. You can sort of see the trading journal. There we go. Yeah, so it's a 1 to 2 hour.
Yeah.
Very, very quick trade. Nothing crazy. So yeah, so in terms of so Bitcoin has actually made a bit of progress. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that in terms of what I'm looking for today.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. There we go. You can see it's
All right, now it's starting to
entry,
move back down
exit. Done. So let's go back to
towards the
trading.
opening range. You probably didn't have to get out of our sacrifice
So
account.
with this now, obviously right now at this point, there's nothing else. I think if this were to keep moving higher, it'll be, we'll be lucky for that to happen. So right now, I'd say it's going to be very risky to try and get into this now because it's now the end of this bullish cycle on the 30 as well as the 15. The next move to the downside could very well be super aggressive, and we could see.
Still think we have downside for the day.
So that's it for gold for now until next time. As for Bitcoin, so I didn't mention
Order
earlier,
filled.
Order filled.
I think we
was
are gonna
anticipating,
go ahead and
move towards this 1 hour buy side liquidity pool. So this is balance, this is fair value gap. Price didn't quite get there. Rather, what the market did, it came down and took out that low that I was anticipating the price to take out, so the 4-hour low. So price tapped that low, which was the final objective that I had for today. But it doesn't mean that that's the end of the move, because if you take a look on the 15-minute time frame, so obviously we saw the market gave that full bearish cycle to the downside. then we saw a reversal, right? But the reversal didn't quite trade into the H1
Oh,
buy
man.
target. The market then gave a swipe back down. So what I'm thinking could take place now is this.
Come on.
I'm thinking now we could see the beginning of a new bullish move. So here's what this could look like. This may not happen today, actually. This price may hold its level in this range until tomorrow's trading session. But right now, I think it's a buyer's market. I do see the market trading into this high, into the H1 BST, and potentially
Holy
trading
smokes.
into. So let's say that the market holds its level until tomorrow. Then this will be yesterday's high. This is a very, very major area of buy-side liquidity support. So I do see a potential of the market potentially taking out today's high. So right now, because price is
Extremely tired today. Yeah, yeah.
as opposed to the buy side, I'm now interested in selling. I'm now interested in buying. Sorry. So this is what the setup looks like for me. Because if we look at this on the 15 minutes time frame, the market gave the initial low, traded into this bearish order block, and then gave a lower low. So we could wait for the market to deliver a break instruction to the upside for a stronger entry confirmation. So what I would like the market trades just a little bit higher, right? And then we could see an actual classic break instruction to the upside.
Alright.
Then the market
So we're just kind of just chilling,
see a continuation
you
from
know,
there.
to figure out what the market's
Alternatively,
gonna
what I
do.
like to look for as well is on the 5 minutes time frame.
We are in a
There
trade for the downside.
could give that breaker structure on the 5
Looks
minutes
pretty close to a
before
1-to-1.
gives the breaker structure on the 15 minutes. But right now, I don't see that.
This
Right now,
is
market
the account that we
value gap. So I think
sacrifice
it would be dangerous to buy at this
to
price.
try
So I'm gonna give this a
strategies.
few minutes. What I would like
Blah
to
blah 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 blah.
if the market were to, for example, let's say pull back, and then
I think we're kind of
see
gambling on a
very strong break
breakdown on the orb
and then a fair value gap.
to break out to the low.
For me, that would be a signal to buy. But for now, it will be very risky.
Could be
to buy
completely
at
wrong.
where it's currently sitting.
We did try it earlier.
Once you deliver a lower low,
We got out.
from that lower low, we can then see a much more stable.
Took the scalp on the other account. We're trying to pass in the opposite direction.
So yeah, so Bitcoin right now, because it's taken out the sell side, bullish is my short-term bias for now. But I'm just simply going to be bullish onto my first target, which is
Just here being really tired.
104.
We're gonna see how this goes. It's kind of a test stream at the same time.
So yeah, so that's it in terms
We'll
of,
probably
my
try and
focus. I'm
test,
just gonna
unfortunately,
we're probably going to take
playing some Apex tonight.
I'm just going to wait for this to give
I'll
me
test.
better price action confirmation before executing on this.
Nice.
See if
Well
we
done
don't-
on that gold trade, man.
Don't end up in the same position.
Walter, out of
Thank you very
interest,
much.
you
Yeah,
trade
No, I certainly hope Bitcoin will blast them.
I kind of want to take this short
Yeah,
right now.
Laura, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering whether, out of interest, whether Walter trades Bitcoin at the weekend, or do you just stick to Monday to Friday?
I used to trade. I used to try to trade on the weekend, but I have a girlfriend that would shoot me in the head.
Okay. If there were no days without charts, yeah.
So
Are you back home,
I
by
have
the
to
way,
take my
Walter? Or are you
coffees
still in Hong
on
Kong?
Sundays. I'm still in. No, I'm in Thailand now. I'm in Bangkok now.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've been here for the past week and a half, and then I head back to Bali on Wednesday morning.
How's it been? Have you had a nice
So
time
this
in
Friday
Thailand?
I'll be back in Bali.
Thailand been good?
Absolutely amazing. I think I've paid maybe like another 5 kg or something. The food here is just unbelievable. good. Every single restaurant we've been to has just been amazing. So yeah, I honestly will not be surprised if I'm getting a few pounds. But Thailand has been really good. I love it out here. It's a beautiful city.
I'm definitely a foodie. I'll pick up a lot of weight.
We're just kind of seeing what this action is looking like.
So I've never met a South African that wasn't a foodie. You know, so you guys have amazing food out there.
Yeah. You got to enjoy food,
Yeah.
haven't you? That's the thing.
Oh,
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. I do all the cooking at
But
home
yeah.
too. So.
Oh wow,
Do
oh,
you?
fair enough.
That's pretty good, Richard.
So you haven't missed your wife while she was away in Nigeria.
No, I don't think so. No, I'm just kidding.
Not from the fact that you.
I
you
used to
have
be a, I
well.
used to be
Well,
a chef on mega yachts, and I studied in Italy back in the days as well. So yeah.
Kind of seeing how this is gonna end up. It looks like it's gonna go
have you
topside.
got any plans to come to the UK anytime soon?
Yeah, so 1st of August, I'll be back in the UK for 2 months. Yeah, for 2 months.
Ah, 2 months.
So yeah, I haven't been back
Alright.
in like a year or so. It's been a while.
Looks like it might be dropping.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, there
not
are
a
some parts
loaded
where I
question.
do. It's a very loaded question, right? It's a very loaded
No,
question.
it wasn't meant as
But there are times when I do, and there are times when I don't. So like I miss the cold. So now I actually spend a lot of time with the AC at full blast, being in a cold room. Like
Wow,
being
okay.
warm just makes me tired and sleepy and
That's it.
lethargic. So
That's not for everyone,
I
is
like to
it?
be cold.
Mm.
No, it's not. But I like to
Different
go out and it's nice and warm and it makes the day better. But when I'm actually in a work mode, I like to be in a cold environment because then I
Right.
focus better.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll be back down in August.
Really,
Super fun.
really tired.
Yeah.
To be there for like the
All
summer
right.
months before it gets cold again. Yeah, in Kent. That's right. Are you
Nice.
good memory?
I do. Yeah.
Whereabouts you
Yeah.
going in London?
Kent's beautiful.
London side?
No, Kent. So Kent is southeast of England, so it's about 45 minutes away from London.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
easy to
I
get
mean
to
London
London.
It looks like it's gonna go up,
is
but
very easy. Yeah, it's like there's a high speed.
I feel like
45
there's
minutes to get
possibly.
to London. But I don't know. I might stay in London when I'm out there.
We're,
I'll probably just stay in Kent for like the first
oh,
half.
well, that's that. I was gonna say there's more stuff to just
Gold
swoop
is
up underneath.
still
Look
pumping
at
up.
gold.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I wonder where it's because right now, I mean, again, I
Yeah.
personally believe not buying. Like, of course, there are people that will probably be looking to jump on this buy, thinking it will go all the way back up here, which there is a good possibility it could do so. But then, if you look at the 4 hour, there is like there are other areas, and the market could basically reject this high, and even on the 1 hour time frame, there are intermediate highs as well. So, just want to see where
Yeah.
price is going. Look at this. Yeah, so there's a very nice fair value gap here. It's very important as this is so important actually. So on the 1 hour time frame, there's this very nice fair value gap just above the high of where price is. So if anything, because there's going to be some sort of a rejection at some point. So if we do see gold pumping even higher, there is a likelihood we could see price trade into this fair value gap. Maybe fill it up to the T, maybe just tap into it, and then from there we could see that decline. But yeah, but buying right now, I think it's like a lot of like it's been more than 1 times ADR to the upside. So gold has been sort of like overly extended today. So yeah, so right now trading is just trading sort of like the exhaustion phase of this bullish cycle.
Could see that.
Just wake up, rinse and repeat for you.
Basically, so tomorrow will be interesting because tomorrow's going to be a sell. It's going to be a sell day tomorrow, so excited to see how that works out and how that plays off.
And where from? Yeah.
And where from exactly? Look at that. So this is now actually about to give that confirmation. So it's price is now broken above this fair value gap. So what I'll be looking for now is this is a very unorthodox form of execution for me, but this is something that can also work very well. By the way, the GUI trade, I really like this, the trading view connection on the GUI trade.
Yeah,
because you can just trade directly from the trading view. You don't even need to use any of the other like execution on it.
I really like your
Yeah, Richard. I noticed, Richard, you prefer the C trader.
Yeah, I tried the what's that? The what do you call that one? The DX trader, right?
DX trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, DX trade.
Yeah. So I tried that for quite some time. C trader, but I did a lot of videos on the MTR on the match trader as well. I think Yanni's using the match trader at the moment. But yeah, looking forward to futures get launched. Then we're gonna have some different platform also using TradingView.
That'd be exciting.
Not exclusively,
Yeah.
because obviously I think the charting package is second to none.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
100%. Sorry, Laura, you were going to say something there. Sorry, there's a bit of latency in the.
It's not that important, but it was. No, it's not very
Come on, it
important.
is important.
It was more just an observation about your screen color scheme. I think it looks very classy.
What is that green sort of
right.
like? Very nice.
British racing driver green, gold, and cream. It's a good combo. It looks nice.
Order filled.
Well, there is actually a psychological reason behind my color scheme.
Of course there is.
So like, there is a reason why I use the colors, because I used to use like for a while now I don't use like the classic red and green candles, because those colors tend to stimulate certain emotional responses. For like if prices fall, you see a lot of red, it's negative.
Yeah.
And traders tend to like lean more towards positive than negative, so you tend to have a subconscious bias towards buying and selling. And I didn't want to have that, obviously. So I switched to gold for bearish candle, because I like gold. Gold is a very nice color, so I didn't want to be biased against price going down. So that's why I had gold as a nice color. White is pretty neutral, and I want to be neutral in my buying as well as selling. And then green is also background really stands out a lot better. So I try to like use colors that doesn't incite sort of like positive or negative emotions towards one or the other, and try to keep a neutral feeling as to whether I'm buying or selling.
100%. It's super important, isn't it? And I think it's really interesting how bearish candles being red, obviously, associated with danger, and the response that we have to that.
Exactly.
Where your bearish trade could be your most profitable trade, but when the red and that, especially if it's moving fast, that's going to elicit a response. So it's something interesting that a lot of people don't really think about. But, you want to be
your background.
Nice
on the eye.
Sid hit the middle of the orb. Sometimes that moves back down.
Exactly. You spend a lot of time staring at the screen, so you want to have colors that are easy on the eyes, and wouldn't sort of like give you a strain. That's why I get that green sort of natural colors.
See what happens in this area. We'll probably just take some quick scalps, see if we can't get some of this back.
Yeah, it's not too straining.
Definitely.
All right, so
I've seen people with very weird colors on this.
Let me kind of see what's going on.
I've seen some weird stuff.
Order filled.
I don't know. Maybe mine is also leaning more on the weird side of things as well.
No,
I don't know.
That's pleasing, Walter. That's really pleasing. I have to be honest.
We were hoping that we would continue down. I don't think so.
I just
I was hoping for a little test down here.
So the idea with Bitcoin right now is very simple. So this is just
I don't think we take that. Just look at that. That looks primed to move up right now.
So price is just taking out a major sell side pull on the 4-hour time frame, right? And then thereafter, obviously, what we're anticipating.
Order filled.
The next draw on buy side liquidity.
I'm hoping that it just actually breaks up now.
Now, longer term projection on this, just a bit of a refresher, is I'm anticipating daily for the price to take out this daily down here at some point.
We shall see.
So
we shall see.
One of two ways I can play this, because the daily is set as bearish, and I'm anticipating a continuation to the downside. But on the lower time frame, I'm seeing a bullish reversal taking place in the short term. So I could play this one of two ways. I could either buy now, right? So if the market were to, for example, to pull back to retest this,
all right, looking semi-good.
So this is a bullish order block. I can always do a session on order blocks at some point in the future, because I think order blocks is something that traders either some get a full understanding of it, some get a partial understanding of it, and some, I don't know. They
especially how you draw it.
Very, very. It's important to understand what and how it's drawn, Yeah, how it's drawn out today. Because for me, it's like you just have to learn how to visually recognize it.
Yeah.
Oh man, just out here being really tired.
Also understand what goes on
Good.
behind an order block. Why is it called an order block?
Yeah.
So yeah, the general idea is if price were to pull back, entering at this order block, stop goes below the block order or the 1 minute time frame, and then entering here, I could get a 132 towards the 4 hours. So if I just go on to 1 hour, so there's this fair value gap that I mentioned earlier. Get a 122 towards this fair value gap.
And this might have been the wrong time. I mean, this is the middle of the orb. It could bounce here, go all the way back down.
And then I could be looking to sell for a sell opportunity.
It's quite.
And the way that would look like something like this.
It's actually quite possible.
So it would look like this. The market will trade into the fair value gap, give a low, create an initial high, pull back, create a higher high, maybe feel
Quite normal sometimes too.
Downside.
I might add.
The opportunity would be to sell at the recent order block, continuation to the downside. So this is order block. But again, if this were to happen, I don't.
We still think there's downside
It probably could happen
bias,
maybe
but
later
it's been moving up, so
tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe it could happen later in New York.
we will see. We'll
But for
just
now, the most obvious,
keep it in, see what happens.
So this is the order. Just going to place a pending order right there. I'm just gonna get just 1% standard.
So you won't wait for a break of structure.
No, not in this, because this is just a small pullback. So
It's
we
a
can
quick-
just take this on a lower time frame. Yeah. So I think the margin on Bitcoin on this account is smaller. So I'll just go
It's pretty hectic.
a smaller margin than that. So I'll go as maybe like a 0.25% risk.
21437.
Nice.
All right, so yeah, that's done on that. I don't think there's anything else for
And
today.
if
I'm not
let's say
sure Richard
price goes
or-
into that fair value gap on the top there, was it an order block in a smaller time frame? And you don't get that retracement,
yeah.
will you then just cancel
Yeah,
the
so
order?
yeah, because that invalidates the buy. So if price were to trade into this fair value gap without retesting that 1 minute order block, then it invalidates the buy because the price is already traded into the next area of sell side. So from that point, you should be interested in selling as opposed to buy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very good.
Nice.
218. 2128.
Yeah, so Robert was getting ready for work. He's probably gone already.
Robert always is. I feel like this is Robert's morning coffee routine. Wakes up, makes coffee, listens to us,
Yeah.
talk about price, and then heads off to work. Not a bad routine at all,
not?
Robert. Not a bad routine at all.
For sure. Wait, I'm just going to show my charts now. I think as soon as I stopped sharing the screen, the blurriness disappeared. So it wasn't my eyes.
That's the technical thing.
There's some interference with yeah, there we go. But it looks fine on your side, so yeah, unfortunately I don't get that bounce that I've been hoping for. I think there's a good chance now that Twitter will take out this couple of lows on 60 and 60. Who knows, maybe after the session we'll get a deeper retracement, but it currently doesn't look like that. Nasdaq, bit of a recovery again. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised a bit of more lackluster price action going into Fed Powell's speech, whatever
Yeah.
he's going to be talking about. It might have been most of the morning moves that we'll see. Maybe, maybe not. That's it that I missed that on Food World.
All right, let's see.
Such is life, I suppose.
That is my saying, such is life.
Laura, do you have anything to share, wisdom-wise, to all our viewers? Laura is our in-house training psychologist, so please ask questions. Now's your time.
Pearls of wisdom regarding psychology. Yeah, well, it's just what you guys are talking about in a way, isn't it? Because it's
Oh, no.
like you master the discipline, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to get those moments of kind of frustration and kind of disappointment if you don't get in or if it doesn't come back. So is it how you've just got to kind of just strengthen that muscle, don't you? That idea that come to a place of peace with the fact that you're not going to get in on every trade, and even if you do all your analysis and it all looks great and you can see exactly where you think it's going and it does go there, being disciplined is way more important, isn't it? But you're going to have to accept that there are times where that is going to feel slightly disappointing.
Yeah, well, at least if it went, sort of into the direction you expected it would, at least you did something right. Shouldn't feel too bad about it.
Absolutely. It's kind of like you always feel a lot less upset if you take a loss when you stick to your rules than you do when you take a loss when you don't stick to your rules. You just end up beating yourself up. So sticking to your rules is a thing, and nothing's predictable, is it? So I just feel like it's about discipline is king, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to, you're still an emotional being. You're still going to have feelings around certain things, and doesn't matter that you've just got to accept that sometimes that's going to be the case, and you're going to have days where you're going to feel a bit like, that's a shame, but it is what it is. Above all, I'm disciplined, and that's what gets consistency, is that discipline, isn't it? As we discussed before. So.
Yeah, because when you take a loss, I found that
sort of go hand in hand.
I found that taking losses against my trading plan is actually a slippery slope to
Having
overtrading and doing things that actually leads to cascading losses, as I like to call it. So it's like when you experience that a few times, you realize that the trigger for this is taking a trade out of a plan that loses.
Oh, here we go. Look at that break. Look at that break.
If it loses in the plan, that's fine, no problem. But the worst of the ones that loses against the plan, it's sometimes really bad, because especially when the price goes in your favor, and then you realize that if you had stuck to your plan, you would have made money, right? But you didn't stick to your plan and you lost money.
Yeah, and then you just end up feeling absolutely lousy.
Boom. See, we got some of the back.
Stick to your plan, and last minute you pull out because of fear. Don't break.
I think we've got a slight delay going on here.
I'll keep quiet.
No, please don't. No, it's just that. I can't remember what I was going to say.
All right, I think we took our trades for the day.
Taking against your plan is, it's not that you're weak or there is actually a process that's happening, and so once you understand that process is happening, you can harness it. Like, there's nothing wrong with you per se because you take plans against your trades against your plan. That's the humanness of you. It's just understanding what processes are happening for you that lead you to doing that, and then stepping back and looking at that with objectivity and saying, okay, that's happening because, and I really need to just understand that that's my normal human psychology at play, and I've got to learn to master that. It's not that I'm broken flawed or any of those things. I'm just a typical human. That's my survival instinct kicking in, and if I can look at it in that way, next time when I feel compelled to do that, I can step back and look at it a bit differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think what helps a lot with that too is keeping a journal, especially. I mean, I still do, but maybe not as dedicated as I did, especially when I went through a phase where things were really difficult. It's just like huge drawdowns, breaking your rules, and then you follow your rules, and then you don't get into a trade, although you followed your rules, fearful, all that sort of stuff. And you know, you're the only person as a trader. It can be a really difficult road to walk, a lonely
Yeah.
road to walk. You know. Also, rather than taking a screenshot of, let's say, your setup, you know, some traders will classify as an A or B or C setup. Go be honest with yourself and note exactly the feelings that led up to it. How did you feel? Did you feel excited? Did you feel overconfident?
Yeah.
Did you feel fearful?
Yeah.
I mean, anything like, oh, do you feel sick? Did you have a fight with your wife? You know, it could be all of these sort of different things, and go note them down.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
To make those mistakes again.
Really good stuff.
It's really interesting that you said that today, Richard, because there's I've been looking at, I did a piece earlier today on exactly that, and there is evidence that supports the idea that once we become self-reflective and emotionally aware of ourselves, that then over time sharpens our decision-making prowess, if you like. We get better at making better decisions the more reflective we are, because we understand ourselves, our own processes.
It's good. I'm leaving this on right now.
So it's been shown that traders who do that regularly, that do that sort of post-trade reflection, are much more likely to reach consistency. Because self-awareness is everything.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think self-awareness is also a skill. It's also a skill, just like any other skill that you develop.
Oh, there goes the drop.
To become more, you could become more self-aware. But most people are at a certain sort of level of self-awareness that is not.
Will this drop all the way back down? Is the question.
So that's why I think like being able to develop that skill of self-awareness over time through journaling. Like always have a book next to you where I just take notes of stuff, and even like recording. I find audio recording as well. Sometimes voicing out your thoughts and listening to yourself is something that helps a lot. Keeping spreadsheets, doing sort of like periodic
order submitted
on your trading performance and seeing what your strengths and weaknesses were. But these are the kind of practices that improve self-awareness.
This is kind of risky because this is a support zone, as you can see in this area. So it could literally hit this and just bounce. It looks like it might be bouncing here. It'll probably drop underneath, shoot back down all the way, at least at the bottom of the orb.
And it's still something
almost like muscle memory.
In my trading. It's a muscle memory. It doesn't just go away,
But you also have to be humble enough. Like humility plays into it, because you can journal, but if you can't be humble enough to look at where you're going slightly wrong or what your flaws are, then you can't really do anything. Yeah, ego, exactly. You can't really do anything to improve that. So you have to be prepared to look at yourself and what you're doing and how you're responding to the market, and be willing to improve on what needs improvement. But you also have to get to a point where you're willing.
So if we get into that trade, we do.
That's
if we don't, we don't.
some as well.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
For sure.
Pretty tired.
So Robert's saying I need to learn why I'm breaking the rules. Yeah, Robert, it's jeez. It's trying to be honest with yourself. I mean, you probably heard all of these things we're telling you right now, right? Before. But if you can't really go and like implement them yourself.
Order cancelled.
Doesn't look good.
That's unfortunate.
It might happen still.
It could be also a personality trait as well, because some people have the personality where they're prone to breaking rules, and others have a personality where they're so much more easy. Like living in Asia, for example, one thing I realized is like a lot of Asians, they just find it so easy to follow rules. Like it's just second nature to them. It's not something they need to think about. Whereas in the UK, I noticed that there are some people that find it hard to follow rules. And I'm someone that is sort of like in the middle where I love rules, but I don't always love to observe rules if I don't understand them. I like to understand the rules before I follow it. So I know that about my personality. So that's why like when it comes to my trading rule sets, I know that the only way I can follow a set of trading rules is if I understand why I need to follow it. So I think like Robert, if you find yourself to be someone that is not naturally a rule follower, or you're the kind of person that prefers to create your own rules, or you're the kind of person that likes to understand a rule before you follow it, then maybe the reason you may not be able to abide by a trading plan is because maybe you weren't the one that created those rules for yourself. They were maybe given to you, or you discovered them from some YouTube video you watched. So like if you don't understand your rules, try to first find a way to understand, okay, what are these trading rules that I'm following? Why do I need to follow them? What are the benefits if I follow them? And what are the downfalls if I do not follow them? And also, like, what is the fundamentals? So I like to dig deep in my trading. If someone talks to me about order blocks, I don't just like to think, oh, order block, okay, cool, I'll buy and sell from order blocks. I like to understand, why do order blocks actually form? Because the market isn't just charts and candlesticks. There is a deeper underlying element to why price moves.
Exactly.
There's so many different players involved in the market that create the dynamic that we see every single day. So for me, like I like to dig deep into that. So why do order blocks form? Why do order blocks create areas of price sort of price deflections where the price could easily either bounce and reject the order block, or price could trade into an order block and flip. So why does that reaction happen? What is the underlying element behind it? And then when I dig deep into that and I begin to get a much better understanding of it, now when I have a rule set that says, okay, order blocks are areas of interest that I should buy and sell from, it's so
Oh, there
easy for me to
goes.
follow that because I understand the underlying dynamic behind it, you know. As opposed to if someone just said, "Hey, Walter, here's a rule to follow. Just follow it." I'll just be like,
Yeah.
No, because then in that way you've got your own motivation, haven't you? It's not just box ticking. It becomes
Order
something
filled.
that
Order
has
filled.
meaning to you, and that changes everything. So yeah,
Robert says, "I'm
Yeah, I want-
exactly like that. I want to know why." Robert, you
Yeah.
cannot know. You are the way you are. You can spend so, you can either try to know why you are the way you are, which is going to take you a lifetime, which is going to be a lot of time wasting, or you can know the way you are, accept it, and be like, okay, this is the way I am. How can I adapt my trading in a way that works for me and in a way that allows me to actually benefit from it? So it's a lot easier to do that, and it takes less time to do that than to try and discover why you are the way you are. Because then you're looking at a lot of, you're going back to your childhood traumas, you're going back to your upbringing, your parental upbringing, your environmental
a lot
factors,
in
and
that.
all that is.
Are you an engineer, Robert? I know a lot of engineers that try to trade and they just cannot. They want to understand everything and they cannot get over the fact that you'll be wrong so many times. And they want to know exactly the why. There's no wrong with like knowing your rules. You know, it's like trying to understand why you were wrong when you're actually almost dealing with a market that's going to prove you wrong a lot of times, more often than not. You know, don't break your head about that. You have to accept the fact that you will be wrong a lot of times. What I also found very interesting and helped me a lot with, I wrote a book about market geometry and specific techniques of how to use at pitchforks, a bit more advanced techniques, more so than normal traders would use in their analysis. I'm not showing them during these sessions, but there was a whole methodology behind it. And actually, I knew this all in my head. And a lot of these pieces of the methodology I took from different traders, made it my own. But I was asked to actually put it into writing, into a book. And that was quite a journey and quite difficult. So it took me, I think I wrote something like 180 pages of a document with screenshots. You know,
Last
went
time.
into how do you analyze this and this and this, different settings. You probably talk about indicators. I used market geometry and those sort of stuff. And put your thoughts on paper, especially over strategy. Try to write it down. It's actually way more difficult than you actually think it is. And what's those rules you're going to stick with? And I always say that if once you start trusting in your strategy, it'll be easier to execute. But maybe go through that process of actually trying to put what's in your head on paper. It was for me at least way more difficult than it sounded.
No,
Robert says he wants to be a
those are really
psychiatrist
good
initially.
experiences.
First, because I wanted to know why I am, I think, and then help people. What are you now, Robert?
By the way,
not a psychiatrist.
I think we've now reached. It's now 11.
Oh, you're right. It is quarter 2.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, beforehand, I mean, I could just quickly share this update, right, on Bitcoin, and then we can wrap up.
Everyone counts on your operation. That's why Ranger, we're here for you. With professional grade industrial supplies and fast delivery. Call quickranger.com or stop by.
Okay, so
Here we go.
Yeah, so now that's pulling back right into that order block. So just a bit of a refresher on this. So this is where the pending order is created, and then stop loss below the low, and then of course targeting the imbalance. Now it's also important to note as well that price hasn't. So if we take a look on the 1 hour time frame, price did tap into that imbalance, right? It did tap into that H1 BST, and if you also take a look on the 4 hour time frame, you know, it sort of retested this candle right there. So there is a likelihood the market could actually keep pushing to the downside, but I do see a very strong possibility because this is a very classic break of market structure to the upside. So I do see a good possibility of the market retesting this bearish candle, giving one more push to the upside.
All right.
And then thereafter we could see
It'll likely go up.
continuation. But again, price could hold its level until tomorrow, and then tomorrow we could see a sell day. Or we could see again the market could easily take out the low of the current low of today. But yeah, so that's the setup. Anyways, that's what I just wanted to give you guys an update on. So that's
We're just gonna leave it in.
Very very soon, but I'm still holding.
It's likely gonna go up, touch the
low,
top,
and the target is 1 to 2.
kill it.
Order block.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's it.
Anyways,
Okay.
off to
Laura?
work.
Thank you for joining us again.
It's lovely to see you guys.
Of wisdom, Walter, from your side.